Tonight, we are going to pick up where we left off, and where we are right now is we are in the original edition of the course, which is a version of the course that has less editing than the current version of the course, and we refer to it as the original edition, okay? And so I decided to go through the first 4 chapters of the original edition because there's a lot in it that is not in the edited version, and I really wanted to learn it and integrate it more for myself, and so I thought, let's do it in here. Plus, it's been a great opportunity to start back at the beginning of the course. And I haven't done that in, I don't know, 20 years. It's been a long time since I, with a class, started at the beginning. It's been a long time. So this is a great opportunity for people to start it back at the beginning if they've been in it a while. It's a great opportunity for new folks to start, because where better to start but at the beginning. And the Course in Miracles actually says, what the Course in Miracles says about the beginning of the book is that it says, you know, it says, if you skip over the beginning of this particular curriculum, there's a good chance that what you read later on in the curriculum might frighten you. Just because you're not, because the teacher of the course is teaching you an entirely new way of thinking, an entirely new thought system. But to do it, it has to start at the bottom, which is where we are in terms of our understanding, and gently, gently, gently teach us this new thought system, but from the bottom up, instead of from the top down. So this teacher starts with us where we're at our level of awareness, right? And so at the beginning, he's starting where we're at, which is at the bottom, of course. And then as the curriculum progresses, the teacher of this course is bringing us up in our awareness of this new thought system, okay? So that's how, and it's organized very, very specifically for that purpose, okay? So, welcome to the beginning of A Course in Miracles, okay? All right, so we are in the Principles of Miracles, which is the first section of the book, right? First section, chapter 1, section 1, this is where we're at. And what it is the Principles of Miracles. And so it is basically, it's the principles of the curriculum, really. It's the principles of this curriculum listed. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Here's the principles of this thought system. What does that mean? That means here's the core concepts of this curriculum. And just like any good curriculum, it starts off in the beginning going, this is what we're going to teach you. This is what you're going to learn in this curriculum, right? Isn't that how a curriculum or a course begins? This is what we're going to tell you, this is what we're going to teach you, and then the middle part is, here's what we're telling you and teaching you, and then what's the last part? Here's what we taught you, right? And this curriculum is just like that. So as you go through this, just know that you're hearing the core elements of this curriculum, okay? That's one way to use it. The other way to use it is to use it on whatever you happen to be going through tonight that feels like a challenge, that feels frightening or painful or difficult. These principles are they're miracles. They are miracles, and they are things that if you will apply them to the specifics of your challenges, then you can get a miracle tonight in those areas, okay? Because what is a miracle, according to A Course in Miracles? A miracle is another way of looking at something that you hadn't thought of, you who made that problem, that by looking at it in that way, that thing is transformed into something beautiful, something healing, something joyful. That's what a miracle is. A miracle is a right thought. It's another way of looking at something through the eyes of a holy, completely loving mind. So a miracle would be loving mind, spirit of love. Please give me another way of looking at this relationship situation. Please show it to me through your eyes. And then receiving that vision. Oh, that's what that relationship is for. It's for me to learn how to forgive myself. Oh, bling, there's your miracle. Now you will respond to that relationship in a completely new and loving and positive and effective way. Why? Because you got to see it through a whole other set of eyes. That whole other set of eyes that sees more than you do, that knows more than you do. Why? Because it's unconditionally loving. Okay? So, all these principles are going to be a thought that has come from the mind of love, that if you will use that thought and put it in place of what you had been telling yourself about your issue, then you too can get a perspective on it that literally produces joy, abundance, and healing. Does that sound good? So what I'm saying is this is supposed to be practical. So I invite you tonight to ask yourself as we go through each principle, how can I use this to have a miracle in this situation that I'm having conflict with? How can I use this to have peace here? Because that's what this curriculum is for, okay? To hear these ideas and then go, how can I apply that? How can I look at what I'm going through like that so that I can have a miracle of peace here? Does that make sense? So, as we're going through it, and you do that, if something comes up where you're like, I don't know how to apply that. How do you apply this to what I'm going through? I'm going through this. How could that help me? If you have any questions around that, or if you have a challenge in applying what you hear to what you're going through, I invite you to raise your hand and ask, how would I apply that to this? Knowing that you are not alone, you are not the only one who needs that, right? And if you take the risk and raise your hand and ask, how would I apply this to that? There's a very good chance that there's at least one other or others in the room who have that very same wondering, but for some reason didn't feel comfortable enough to ask. Okay, so just remember that. What you would like some support around is what the others around you also need. That's just the way it's set up, right? That I am surrounded by people who need the same thing I do. That's the way the universe sets up our interactions and our proximities, right? So you can know for sure, whatever you need right now, whatever you're going through right now, you are surrounded by people who have the same need. But they too are not speaking up, so you don't know that you're not alone, and they don't know they're not alone, right? But that's the way the universe sets it up. Everyone around me is going to be a reflection of me, showing me something that I need to see, showing me something that I need to forgive within myself so I can be free, right? That's the way the universe sets it all up, okay? That's why the Course says there's no chance encounters. There's no chance encounters. No chance encounters. There are only appointed encounters. Isn't that an interesting statement? Even if it's a chance encounter passing someone like this, and you never see them again, every encounter is an appointed encounter. So this is our appointed encounter tonight, okay? All right, so we're just picking up where we left off, and I think that we are on Principle 27. Okay, so it says a miracle is a universal blessing from God through me, says the voice of the Course, to all my brothers. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. So the miracle comes from God through a loving voice. And whenever a loving thought comes through, it comes through for everyone. All loving thoughts that come through you, the truth about them is that they really are for everyone. They are a universal blessing. When you have a loving thought, that loving thought you had is a universal blessing. That's how valuable it really is. And we're in the habit of thinking that our thoughts are not that valuable, right? Right? Our thoughts are so valuable that every time a loving thought comes through, it is a universal blessing. That's how important and valuable our loving thoughts are. Then it says, it's still in 27, the disciples, and by the way, this is Jesus speaking, if you haven't noticed. So the voice of the course identifies himself as Jesus. Okay? I tend not to say that. I tend not to say that in class, but it's so specific, where he's like, I, me, my disciples, me, my, I told them before. So that you know, the voice of the course identifies himself as Jesus. And in the next portion, he actually goes into clarifying some of the things that are in the gospel that had gotten misinterpreted. Okay, so that's what you're about to hear. So he says, the disciples, his disciples, were specifically told to be physicians of the Lord and to heal themselves. To heal others. The disciples were also told to heal themselves, and they were promised that I would never leave them or forsake them. Okay? Interesting. So what did he tell his disciples, his students? He told them, be physicians of the Lord, but also heal yourself. Physician, heal thyself. Physicians, heal thyself. Remember that one? Okay? Oh, and by the way, that's us. We're the ones that are supposed to be physicians of the Lord, right? And how do you best become a physician of love? Meaning a healer. What's the best way to accomplish that? Do you go to school for it? You let yourself be healed. You heal yourself. You let yourself be healed. And as you let yourself be healed, then you automatically become a physician of the Lord, meaning a physician of love. That's how it works. Interesting. So he tells them, be a physician for love, heal yourself, and I promise you that I will never leave you or forsake you. How nice is that to hear? Did you hear that? Have you heard that yet today? I will never leave you or forsake you. What a nice thing to hear, eh? What if you did hear that and you believed that and you accepted that? Wow. How nice would that feel, to feel so loved that you know that there was a loving force that would never leave you and never forsake you. I guess that would handle any self-esteem issues, eh? Self-esteem issues, who, me? I know I'm loved by something who will never leave me, never forsake me. Who, me? Have self-esteem issues? Who, me? Worry that somebody didn't call me back? Nice. And that's what this relationship offers. This relationship with our teacher, with our internal guide, our internal healer. And then it says, atonement. He says atonement, which is, he clarified before, atonement is the plan by which mankind is healed from guilt. Okay? That's what the atonement is. It's an interlocking chain of forgiveness. That's what the atonement is. And he says the atonement is the natural profession of the children of God. Why is that? Because they have professed me. Interesting. Profession, profess. Isn't that interesting? I never really quite saw that before. Now, mind you, this paragraph we're doing right now is not fully in the edited, some of it is, but it's not in the edited version. Okay? So he says, atonement is the natural profession of the children of God. So what is the natural profession of us? What's our natural profession? It is to profess love. To profess love. And what is atonement? It's the correction of guilt. And remember, the atonement is the undoing of fear. So what is your natural profession? Is to profess that which undoes guilt and that which undoes fear. Isn't that interesting? My natural profession is to profess. I love that. So just in case you're wondering what your natural profession was, in case you were wondering what you're going to do when you grow up, wonder no more. Your natural profession is to profess a truth that undoes fear and undoes guilt. That's what your natural profession is. Now, if you take up your natural profession and accept that, yes, indeed, you do have a job. Yes, you do have a career, and a very important one. Oh, that's my real career. Oh, that's my real job. Then Spirit will take care of the form of your job, your career, your profession. Okay? Isn't that nice? If you accept your real profession, meaning your natural profession as a child of God, I don't know what form it's supposed to take. I just know what I'm supposed to be doing, which is being a voice for love, being a voice for the undoing of guilt and fear. That's what I'm here to do. That is my natural profession. Then Spirit, who knows you and the specifics about your physical life, will then form the details and specifics of your career, your job, your profession around your natural profession. Isn't that nice? So I don't have to come up with the specifics of my special function, my career, my job in the world, right? I don't have to come up with, all I have to do is go, all right, I know what I'm here to do. My natural profession as a child of God is to profess love. Love, okay, which undoes fear and guilt. Then, now he's going to go in and correct another statement that you find in the Bible. And it is this. The quote, heaven and earth shall pass away, unquote. Remember that quote, heaven and earth shall pass away? Simply means that heaven and earth will not continue to exist as separate states. How nice. Heaven and earth shall pass away means there won't be any heaven and earth. You know, like it'll all be one. It'll all be heaven. Right? How nice. How nice. So that's what it means to say heaven and earth shall pass away. And for some reason, this teacher felt it important to reinterpret that for us. As this is what I really meant. At some point in the course, the voice of the chorus goes, I'm going to give you this because I want to tell you what I really meant and what I really said. Okay? And so a lot of it is the reinterpretation. He's like, he says essentially the gospel is just the gospel of love. That is what it is in its essence. But he said that the disciples, his disciples, felt guilty. They had some guilt in their minds. Why? Because their learning wasn't complete. They're just learning. They're just students. And because they had guilt in their mind relative to Jesus' learning experience on earth, he says only because of that did they speak of the wrath of God. Their guilt had made them afraid and angry. Their feeling of guilt, because their learning was incomplete, had made them assume that God was angry with them. And that's why and how the whole wrath of God came in to those early teachings that came through the disciples. Does that make sense? That's how that came in to what a gospel that is really only love, the essence of love. Does that make sense? Okay. And he also says, and you are the disciples that I am still teaching. In other words, you are the evolution of those folks. Here you are, right? Here you are getting phase 2 of the learning, right? So, here you are. All right. Then it says, He says, my word, which is the resurrection and the life, shall not pass away. Why? Because light is eternal. Then he says, you are the work of God. And God's work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. This is how a man must think of himself in his heart, because this is what man is. Okay, now this statement to me is incredibly important, because here our teacher is telling us how you must think about yourself. This is how you must think about yourself, because this is what you are. Here's your truth. You ever seeking all these years, seeking. What is the truth about me? What is the truth about me, O great master? I have traveled long and far. What is the truth about me, master? And it is this: you are wholly lovable and you are wholly loving. You are the work of God. End of story. That's it. Wow. When you finally hear the whole truth about who you are and what you are, that is what you're going to hear. You are the work of God, and you are completely lovable, and you are wholly loving. And everything besides that is your own fantasy. It's your own nightmare. Wow. Now let's rest a moment on this. What would your life be like? What would it be like in your mind and in your heart and in your body if you absolutely accepted that? I am wholly loving and wholly lovable. That's my truth. That's my reality. That's my identity. That's the final truth about me. I'm wholly loving and I'm wholly lovable. And that's what he's saying. When you get down through all the layers of disillusion, you get down through all the layers of the self-concepts that you learned about yourself, and there's a lot of layers. They go back millions of years. When you get through all the levels and layers of all the self-concepts, all the strata of the things you've learned about yourself, and you get down all the way to the bottom of who and what you are, that's what's there. That's what you find. Oh, I am love. I am wholly loving and wholly lovable because I am of God. Because I am of God. Because I come from God. That's it. Wow. Imagine if you accepted that truth about yourself. Wow. There again. No more self-esteem issues there, right? No more worthiness issues there. And when you have accepted, look, I am only love, because that's what God is, and God made me that way, and the end of story. I am only love. When you accept that, then all that comes from you is loving. All that comes from you is love. Wow. That's what I want to accept about myself. And so each day I just want to remember, I am the work of God, I am wholly loving, and I am wholly lovable. And this is the way I want to think about myself in my heart today. Wow. Imagine if that's how you really felt about yourself in your heart. For real. Imagine that. It's a little different than how we think about ourselves in our hearts now, isn't it? Right now, in our hearts, we think of ourselves as deeply flawed, missing something for sure, right? Definitely alone in what we're going through, right? Definitely unworthy of heaven here and now, right? This is how we've been thinking about ourselves in our heart, right? And now he's saying, now let yourself hear the truth about yourself, the final truth, the only truth that there will ever be about you. Wow.
It's interesting that that is correct. And anytime I think I see something in myself that isn't loving, I'm not even looking at myself, I'm looking at something else.
Thank you.
And all these things we think we need healing about, they're not even there.
That's exactly
they're not
right.
seeing you.
That's exactly right.
Which is,
So if I am feeling about myself anyway, but I am wholly loving, and I'm wholly lovable because I'm the work of God. I came from God. You know, like God is love, God created me, that's what I am. Now I can make up a dream that I am something else, something that has become defiled, something that has become less than loving, less than lovable. Then that's all I'm doing. I'm just having a dream. I'm just having a dream. I'm having a nightmare. Wow. And you know how powerful and creative our minds are. If I will make it seem so. If I think that I'm something besides wholly loving and wholly lovable, then guess what? I'm powerful. I'm going to find things out in the world that prove to me that I'm right, that I'm not loving and I'm not lovable. And that's all you could ever be seeing. If you see something in the world that seems to show you that you're not so loving, you're not so lovable, you are not seeing reality, you are just seeing a reflection of your misperception. That's all that is happening. You are seeing what you believe about yourself. Of course you're going to see that. That's what you believe about yourself. Wow. And so now all we have to do is say, I am willing to see myself as wholly loving and wholly lovable because that's how I was created by God. Wow. And all I have to do is say, I'm willing, I'm willing, I'm willing. And then the universe does the rest. Okay? All right. Has anybody got anything going on tonight that's making it seem difficult for them to behold themselves as wholly loving and wholly lovable? Anyone? Did anything happen today that seemed to show you the opposite? I was hanging out with someone, they were not seeing me as wholly lovable. And the way I reacted to them, that wasn't wholly loving, I can tell you that much. Okay, so if that was the case.
Well, I'm an ACA, and I was reading today about all of the illusions I was handed by my parents of, in a dysfunctional home.
Yes.
And how some of that really, really old stuff, how it's hung on till I'm 62 years old.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the great things about it is you get to have a loving God as your parent.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what I'm hearing here is more like, I'm your loving parent.
Exactly. And it's funny you would say that because I've often said that I allow the Course in Miracles to reparent me. And to me it has had that value for me. Like, I do let myself be reparented in this way. When I hear this, I go, oh, that's the truth about me. That's what my real parent says. And when I read this, I am letting myself hear what my real parents say to me. Now, can you imagine if from birth you had only heard you are wholly loving and you are wholly lovable, and that's all that will ever be true, and everything else is a mistake? Can you imagine if you heard that from birth? Whoo-wee! Well, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. You can have one tonight. It's never too late.
Young kids, I don't know how young in the Eastern religions, but if they were taught to meditate and connect with that as a young child, maybe it would be so hard to learn it later on.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And one of the things I love about what the Course teaches is that the truth, whatever is the truth about you, like for instance this truth, you are wholly loving and you are wholly lovable, that's how you must think about yourself in your heart, because that's what's true. Now, when the characteristic of a true thought is that it corrects retroactively as well as progressively. So if you even are willing to let that idea in for just a minute and say, yes, I know I don't accept that and believe it completely, but Yes, I want that. Yes, 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 yes. When you allow the truth to come into your mind, the truth literally goes back into your past, which is where? In your mind, right? I'm sorry, where is the past, really? Is it happening here in the room right now? My past literally is in my mind. And so when I allow a truth thought to come in my mind, it literally is going into my past and correcting it, changing it from something that is my testimony to my guilt into my testimony that I am loving and lovable. And then it goes into the future, which is also where? Where is my future? In my mind. And it also corrects proactively my future. And does what? And produces a future that witnesses that yes, you are completely loving and you are completely lovable. That is the truth about you. That's what I love about the truth. And that's what I love about the Course. Every time I read it, I know from my experience that just reading it and just allowing those thoughts to come in and just saying yes to them, I know I'm cleaning up my past and I am making my future glorious. Just by reading it, just by letting it in and going, I don't believe it, but yes. I don't believe it, but I sure would like to. That's how powerful a right thought, a true thought is. Isn't that beautiful? That's why the Course says at the beginning, you don't have to believe these ideas. You don't have to welcome them. You don't have to like them. You can resist them all you want. But if you will let them in and just use them, they will show you that they are true. Right? So you don't even have to believe them to let them produce miracles. Isn't that beautiful? That's why I'm in love with A Course in Miracles.
So all these things are really wholly dependent on me being willing to be wrong.
That's right.
Now this can happen without that, so
that's exactly
that's
right.
the most valuable, whatever I can learn to make that possible.
Exactly.
For me to be willing to be learned. That's all I'm learning.
That's exactly right.
Willing to be wrong.
I love that.
How I see myself.
Exactly. That's true. You can't let in a new thought unless you're willing to be wrong about your old thoughts. That is very true. And that is why we stand guard over our thoughts and our beliefs. That's why we aren't willing to let anything in new, because we think that that means we must have been wrong. God forbid I was wrong. Aside from the fact that I was. So now, when I am ready for a real deal miracle transformation around something that has bugged me and plagued me and burdened me for so long, the first thing I do now is go, oh, Holy Spirit, I am wrong about everything. I am wrong about everything in this situation. I am mistaken completely in every way. In regard to this situation, I have been mistaken. I am wrong about everything that I have thought around this situation. That's the first thing I just start with. Just clear the decks. Clear the decks. From what? From all the old beliefs and concepts that I'm clinging to, even though they're hurting me. Right? That's how I clear the decks, so I can hear what the truth is. You know, and when the decks get cleared of all the things that I am believing about myself and believing about other people and believing about men and believing about women and believing about God, what comes in is you are the work of God. And you are completely loving at your core, and you are completely lovable at your core. At your core, you are completely loving, and you are completely lovable at your core truth. That is the truth about you. Wow. Do you know how many lifetimes of mistakes and conflict that one idea would clear if you believed in reincarnation? Or do you know how many years of suffering and being mistaken about who and what you are that would clear in 1 minute of saying yes to that idea? Wow. He says it's literally, what these can do for you is literally inconceivable. You cannot conceive of the power to clear your mind of all dead thoughts, he calls them. You can't even conceive of how powerful they are. Wow.
And I had to have been wrong about this situation, because as I see it, I don't see me as wholly loving, and I didn't see my brother as wholly loving.
That's for sure.
So at no time was I looking at either of us.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so if you're not having that perception of yourself as wholly loving and wholly lovable, you are not perceiving correctly. You're making, like the Course says, you're making up images in a darkened glass. You're a darkened mirror. You're making up images in a darkened mirror. Whew, wow. Do you see how much time and one right thought can save us? One right thought can save you years of defending illusions that never were true. Years. We've spent years defending ideas that were never true. I have spent years defending how my childhood was. And it never happened like that. And I talk to my family like, no, that never happened. I'm like, what? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I spent years defending my childhood being like that. And then they're like, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember like that at all. Okay, whoa. I've spent all these years defending my childhood as I remember it. You're telling me it didn't even happen like that. Yeah. Wow. And then at that point, you have to do what the Course says and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for having wasted so much time on something that was never true. Right? And then it's okay that you wasted time on that, because one right thought now can transform your whole present and your whole future into heaven. So it doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on, God, I wasted so much time. Oh my God. Oh my God, I've been so wrong for so long. Oh my God, it's too late for me now. Has anybody ever had that thought? I have it regularly. Well, it's too late now. I've been misperceiving for all these years. You know, it may as well go on and just keep on misperceiving. Go on going for being right instead of happy. Right? But all it takes is one right thought to completely transform your future and your past. Wow. All right. Does it sound like I like A Course in Miracles a little bit? Give me a C. Give me an O. Give me a U-R-S-E. All right. Okay. I never was a cheerleader in high school, so this is my chance. Okay. So, everybody ready for Principle 28? Anybody has a question before we go on? Principle number 28. Okay. And P.S., this one is not in the edited version. The one we're about to do is not in the edited version. Okay? And so, when you read it, you'll see why they cut it out. Oh, I see why they cut that out. It says, miracles are a means of organizing different levels of consciousness. What does that mean? Well, that means miracles come from the below or subconscious level. Never heard that before, eh? It says revelations come from the above or superconscious level. That's interesting. So we got the subconscious level, and then we got the superconscious level. You hear like the Freudian stuff. Now remember, the people this came through were psychologists, right? PhD psychologists at Columbia University. So he's like talking their language, okay? So he goes, miracles come from the subconscious, or the what? The below the below or subconscious level. Revelations come from the above or superconscious level. The conscious level is in between. How very interesting. So we've got superconsciousness, which revelations come from, right? What is a revelation? It's a direct communication from God or the universe, okay? And then a miracle comes up from below, the subconscious or the below level. And then there's a middle level, and that is called consciousness. And he says, now consciousness, the middle level, does what? Engages in the world and is capable of responding to both the super and the lower. Having no impulses from itself and being primarily a mechanism for inducing response, the consciousness level can be very wrong. That's new, huh? Any old-timers in here? Isn't that great to hear something new from the Course? I read that, I'm like, yeah. Okay, so very fascinating. You've got the super conscious level, right, where direct communication from God comes to you. Revelation, stroke of insight, right? That's a revelation. That's direct communication from God. And then you've got the lower subconscious level, which is where the involuntary things are, right? The unconscious things are, what seems to be involuntary. Then you've got the middle level, which is consciousness, which is the one choosing, okay? So you've got the right mind, and then you've got your wrong mind, right? But then you've got the middle level, which is the choosing aspect of the consciousness, the choosing aspect of your mind. Isn't that interesting? So my consciousness, the middle level, is the one going, I decide for peace or I decide for fear. I decide either to receive, the truth from God, or I decide to pull up what is involuntary or unconscious. Isn't that interesting? So what we're normally dealing with and aware of is the consciousness level, the mid-level, the choosing aspect of the mind. Isn't that interesting?
So this miracle is for when I'm having trouble choosing the right mind or the higher conscious level. It allows me to come from the lower level.
That's
the miracle allows into my conscious so that I can choose that other level.
Exactly. When I am not choosing for the super conscious level, then there's something within me that I didn't make, I didn't even barely know about, that comes up and goes, here, how about this right thought? Here, how about this option? Isn't that interesting? And how fascinating that the below or subconscious level is the level of the miracle. How fascinating. So the unconscious level is the level like in Freudian psychology, the unconscious level, the subconscious, is where all the primal, primitive impulses are, right?
So that's where the ego is, too, then?
Right, exactly. Okay, so, but he's saying that, and Freud was, and he goes into this in this edition here, where he doesn't go into it about Freud in the edited version. And he says that Freud was correct in perceiving that there was a level beneath consciousness where all of our repressed material is that we don't want to look at. All the primitive impulses, just to eat and reproduce and to fight, all those primitive impulses, right? Get, me, mine, me, get me first, right? He says that Freud was correct in identifying that that's where we have pushed all of those ego impulses to. But he says what Freud didn't get to in his awareness, his learning, was that even below that is the involuntary love, the involuntary truth. In the bottom, at the bottom level of the subconscious is not just the ego impulses. It's actually the natural impulse to love. That's really what's below that. And he goes on to talk about that. He says that you can put all your ego primitive impulses there on the subconscious level. You can do that if you want. But the truth is that below that is the unconscious impulse to love, to join. And if you go down far enough, that's what you'll find. And that's what we're trying to get to. Wow. So at the core is not the subconscious, like Freud said. The core of us is not, I want what I want when I want it, give it to me now. Oh, I guess that won't fly socially, so I guess I have to learn how to negotiate and to give in order to get what I want, right? That's what we had to learn. He said, so, but below that is the level of you are just love and that's all you want to do, okay? So this is kind of some deep stuff, so bear with me as we go into this. Now do you see why they cut that part out? Okay, here it goes. So he says, revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. So the super consciousness. Revelation, which comes from the super consciousness, represents the original form of communication between God and his souls, involving an extremely personal sense of closeness to creation, which man tries to find in physical relationships. Huh? What? Interesting. Okay, so at the super conscious level, God is directly communicating with his souls. That's us. And that's the original form of communication between God and us. It was like this, just this communication that was like this between us and God. That's the original form of our communication with God. There wasn't no like God needed like Holy Spirit or person, or Jesus, or Buddha. The original form of communication between God and his souls was direct. It was direct, meaning revelation, just like this, right? Okay? And he says that, now, that kind of original communication between God and his souls, he says, that is, it represents, it involves an extremely personal sense of closeness to creation, which man tries to what? To find in physical relationships. Okay, basically, what we are trying to find in our physical relationships is what? It's an extremely personal sense of closeness and creation. Wow. The Course does say that. In all your ego relationships, in all your physical relationships, you're really trying to get back to how it was with you and God at the beginning. Oh, that's what I was trying to do. That's why I was so wanting, that's what I was trying to get through my physical relationships. An extremely personal sense of closeness and creation. Doesn't that fit? Doesn't that fit perfectly? And doesn't that explain why we are so disappointed in our physical relationships? I mean, what a letdown. Unconsciously, I just want to feel close to my Creator. Oh, personal sense of closeness with my Creator, with communication that just goes like this all the time. You know, the kind of thing that we always say we experience at the beginning of our physical relationships, right? Oh, the communication, it just goes like this. I'm experiencing such a personal sense of closeness and creativity. Wow. Interesting. So our mistake has been trying to get back to that original communication with our source, trying to get that through the body. Through the body. Sometimes through sex. Sometimes through giving birth to a body, right? But thinking that, oh, if I could just have this particular physical body, I get to feel that original feeling of closeness that I remember from when I was at home in God. Wow, that's what I was going for the whole time. I just didn't know it. He said, behind the search for every physical relationship is your intense and burning love of God. Remember that sentence from one of the, I think it was from chapter 17? Wow, I remember reading that going, what? No. I just thought he was gorgeous. That is not what was behind that, I'm sure. That was not behind my desire to have a child. No. Right? But he's saying that that's what we've been trying to get at and create in our physical relationships. And that is why we experience such profound disappointment and such vicious and cruel grievances. Because we're like, hey, you were supposed to help me feel that oneness with God. You were supposed to help me get back to that sense of original wholeness and original communication that I had with my Creator. You're supposed to make me feel like this forever. And do they?
Just for
Hell no.
Just for a short while.
Oh yeah, just while the chemicals, just while the chemicals are rushing through the brain.
But have you ever heard that like sexual orgasm is the closest you get to God?
I have heard that, and to me, this explains what that is really about. And so, it really is. You know, you could say it's the closest we experience of union with God, because that's what we were trying to get to with it. You know, that feeling of union, that personal sense of closeness and union and creativity that we mistakenly thought we could get through union with another person's body. Whether it was giving birth to them or mating with them or whatever, you know. That's what we were really going for. But it can't be accomplished through physical closeness.
Because it doesn't keep going on.
That's right, because it's
like,
not eternal.
It's not, doesn't keep doing
Exactly.
what you just said.
Exactly,
It's
because
moments here and there of that,
Exactly.
yeah, but you can't have that.
you can't
Doesn't work.
experience the original form of communication between God and His souls through something that dies. Because what is the nature of the original communication between us and God? It's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's eternal. It doesn't end just because God doesn't like what you wore. I don't like what you said to me. I don't like that look you just gave me. I'm not going to talk to you. You know how we are with each other? I don't like what I just heard you say. I'm not going to talk to you. Right. That's the way we do communication. Right? Whereas the original form of communication between God and His souls was ongoing, unconditional, and guess what? It was 100% powerful, creative, and fulfilling. You know, in your original form of communication with God, you are completely satisfied. And I mean completely. Not like, oh, this is great, but wouldn't it be great if we were doing this in Hawaii? When you are experiencing the original form of communication between God and His souls, you are 100% satisfied, 100% completely, forever. And so what we did was we were like, I don't want you, God. I'm going to try to get that. I do miss that. I do miss having that with you, God, because it was completely satisfying. As a matter of fact, it was the only thing that was completely satisfying. But I am going to run away from home, and I'm going to try to get that feeling through someone's body. Yeah! Oh, and if it doesn't work with that particular body, I will condemn them, say that they're the problem, get rid of them, and I will substitute their body for another body, and I'll try again. Yeah. And the Course says, with this approach, he says these unrewarding relationships become like a chain around our neck. In other words, I'm going to try to get that personal sense of closeness that I miss with God with your body, And if it doesn't work, I'm going to blame you, and then I'm going to replace you with you. I'm going to try to get the same thing going on, and when it doesn't, when I can't get that satisfaction, I'm going to blame you, and then I'm going to replace you with you, and then I'm going to wonder why I have all this chain of unrewarding, special, physical relationships that characterize my past. You know, like all the dead bodies, all the dead bodies in your past. And he said that it becomes a chain of unrewarding relationships around my neck. In other words, and then I get into another relationship, I'm like, I can't trust you. Because, look at all those special, unrewarding relationships of people who betrayed me. They said they could give me that personal sense of closeness, that original wholeness I have with God, and they didn't. And so because of all that, I can't love you now. I can't trust you. You're going to have to earn my trust. Wow.
So you said this communication with God is still ongoing.
Yes.
So it's never really stopped.
Exactly.
We just kind of checked out and chose to not be aware of it a little bit for a while.
Exactly right.
We want to be separate.
Exactly.
And that's why our problem with each other is in that we're trying to temporarily have that,
That's
just for a
exactly
moment, but not
right.
really,
Never achieve it.
yeah.
Maybe we think we do in the beginning phase of the relationship, whether it's the right after birth or in the beginning phase of the romance. And the reason that it seems like we do is because our brains are literally on drugs. Literally. And you are literally hallucinating. Literally. They said the CAT scan of the brain of someone who just fell in love and the CAT scan of the brain of somebody who's experiencing psychosis, same brain scan. Because the drugs that are flooding your system, oxytocin, dopamine, just flooding your brain, literally creates hallucination, basically. It's true. Your brain is on drugs. They're self-generated. They're drugs that the brain self-produces. But so if at the beginning you're like, oh, look, I am experiencing a wholeness. I am whole again. I am whole for the first time in my life. I'm complete. You complete me, right? And then it doesn't take long, and then the drugs wear off, and then we realize, oh my God, not only am I not feeling whole and complete, but I want to kill this person. And I am going to get a restraining order on them. Oh my God, wait a minute, I just went from you complete me, I am whole, to here's a restraining order. Wow. And why? Why? Because instead of going to the original form of communication with my Creator, instead of going into communication with my Source and going, God or Source, and going into communication with my Source, what did I do? I went into communication with somebody through a body or in a body or for a body. I went for a body. I went to a body and said, please satisfy me. Please complete me. Please. I will give you my body if you will complete me, right? And that was our mistake. Now, if we ever at any point would like to experience real wholeness, I mean real completion, I mean real satisfaction where you're just like, oh my God, I have everything. I don't lack for anything. Oh, it feels so good. If we really ever really want to feel that way, then it's going to come from going within into communication with our Source instead of going and looking for it outside of ourselves through a body.
Well, isn't it that we were created in a way that nothing and no one can satisfy us really and truly except the Almighty, or however it is that you're referring to?
That's exactly what it's saying.
Yeah.
Is that no one, meaning no separate thing, can satisfy you with that kind of communication that is ongoing and eternal.
Right.
And no thing, certainly nothing that changes or ends or dies, right? Because God is not something that ends or changes or dies. And we were born out of a communication that was unending and complete. And that's how we were created. We were born out of communication. Communication that is unending, that is eternal. And we seek, at the bottom of everything we think we want and what we're seeking is that form of communication. Right? Because that's that's our original state. Right? And we will never, he said the next sentence is, physical closeness cannot achieve this. Physical closeness cannot achieve this. Wow.
So sometimes you really did kind of maybe let down some stuff and sort of joined with somebody. It wasn't necessarily physical. You let down the guards to your minds
Yes.
and allowed them to join. And just like you sometimes can get in direct revelation,
Exactly.
but only for a little bit, because then you get scared and run off again.
That's right. Exactly.
So as you catch these holy instances, if you will, or
Exactly.
glimpses,
That's right.
but if you stay there very long, you have to totally give up this separate identity, don't
That's exactly. Yes, thank you.
Is another way of looking at that kind of like we look to something outside to fill that place with
Yep.
love rather than
Exactly.
realizing the love is already there?
Exactly. Exactly. Like if you're not going to enter into dialogue with your Creator, then no dialogue you try to get with another person is going to satisfy you. You know, you'll always be upset. You'll always be disappointed. You'll always feel like they betrayed you somehow, or they'll feel like you betrayed them. But if you regularly engage in dialogue with your source, then everybody satisfies you. Everybody you come in contact with, you get a gift. Oh, there's another gift. Oh, what a great gift. There's another gift. Oh my God, another gift. Why? Because you are not looking for that original form of communication and creation outside of yourself through physical closeness, through a body. Wow. So if I am allowing myself to be in dialogue with my Creator, then everybody I talk to who seems like they're outside of myself, it's going to satisfy me because I'm already satisfied. I already feel an extremely personal sense of closeness. I already feel that. So I don't need to get anybody. Oh, please, I need to feel some closeness. Will you be close to me? Will you? I don't have to use people to get that extremely personal sense of closeness that can only come from real communication. I don't have to use people to get that and to substitute it because I'm already allowing it for myself. I'm satisfied. So, and he says, and I'm just going to read these last couple sentences and then we'll close up, because the subconscious impulses properly induce miracles. Oh, my subconscious, when it's working properly, actually is going to induce miracles, meaning involuntary right thoughts. He says, and these miracles are genuinely interpersonal and result in real closeness to others. This can be misunderstood by a personally willful subconsciousness as impulses toward physical gratification. Okay, so I love it. Understanding where real closeness comes from. Okay. So now when I let the impulse to love come up naturally from my subconscious, who knew that was there? Thank you, God. Then it results in miracles which are what? Genuinely interpersonal. Okay? So there's this. What comes from above, revelation, is something that is direct communication between me and Source. Okay? Can't be described in words. What comes from below, if you let it, is a genuine impulse to join with others, which is a miracle. That's a miracle. I want to extend to others the love that I am, the love I feel. That's a miracle. Miracles are interpersonal, okay? Now, this can be misinterpreted. The closeness that you sometimes feel when love comes up from you and through you to another, and it feels good. It creates an interpersonal closeness. It feels good. And he says, when you have a personally willful consciousness, me, me, mine, me, then you can misunderstand those miracles as impulses toward physical gratification. Wow. So, I love it. Impulses toward physical gratification. He says this. He says something real interesting about physical impulses. Okay? All right, something I can relate to. I always talk about superconsciousness in heaven. I can't relate to that, but physical impulses, all right. Now you're on my level. He says, physical impulses are misdirected miracle impulses. Wow. I'll say it again. Physical impulses, I want to join with you physically. I want to get with you physically. I want to get something from you physically. It's a misdirected miracle impulse. In other words, I was having an involuntary desire to join or to extend the love that I am, right? But I thought that that something was happening within my body. I thought I was experiencing a physical appetite, right? I thought I was experiencing a physical impulse. Ooh, my body wants to get with your body, right? But that's me misunderstanding what was really going on. What was really happening was I saw this person, and unconsciously and involuntarily a will to extend love came up from my subconscious and wanted to come out and reach this person to have an interpersonal experience of closeness, right? That's the way it's supposed to work, okay? But instead of going, oh, I had a miracle impulse to extend love to this person, instead I misunderstand it. I get my signals crossed and I go, I want your body. Or I want something from your body, whether it's money or sex or love or companionship or approval or whatever. Interesting. So isn't that interesting to hear that all of our physical impulses are really misdirected love impulses, miracle impulses. Because I am naturally loving, remember? When you get down even below my subconscious, what's there? A loving. Remember? I am loving. Remember, I was created loving. And so that is at my core. So that is what is in the subconscious level of me. Right underneath all the, oh, I just want to get what I want right now. I don't want to have to ask for it. I just want to take it. Okay? That's what we thought was in the subconscious. But really, what's below that is, I just want to love. I just want to love because I am love. And all the time, they're trying, those impulses to love and join are always coming up from the subconscious. Why? Because that's what you are at the core. But we mistake it and go, oh, this is physical. This is something physical. This is something physical. And it's really not. It's really just an impulse to love and to join that I've misunderstood.
So how does a holy relationship develop then?
A holy relationship would first develops as both people let themselves learn what love really is and what love really means. And both people realizing that love is what they are, not something that they do or can get. And then they both make the decision to go for that, to try to experience real love, to give the other person real love, you know, and making that decision together. Okay, listen, love is not have anything to do with any agreements we make, or what your body does for me, or what my body does for you, or what your body looks like, or what my body looks like. It has nothing to do with that. Let's try to love each other beyond the body for a purpose that transcends the body. Let's try to learn what love really is and what it really means. And then it starts from there. Okay? And then the Course says that any two people who make that decision together, the Holy Spirit immediately enters that relationship. I mean, he says immediately, doesn't waste a second. And the Holy Spirit goes into the core of that relationship and then begins the process of teaching them how to achieve the goal they set that they have no idea how to meet and of themselves could never meet because of their old programming. And so he says, so these two people make that agreement with each other. The Holy Spirit comes in and immediately gets to work. And then immediately the two people realize how far away their relationship as it is now is from the goal they set. And they freak out. They freak out and they go, oh my God, we will never get there because of you. And you know what? You're the reason why we'll never get there. You are. So I'm going to get rid of you. And then we try to substitute them for another person. But the Course says that because Holy Spirit did enter at their request, Holy Spirit will remain in that relationship, even if they blame each other and move on to other relationships, that Holy Spirit remains and continues on to make it holy, even though they have no idea. Because now you don't have to get rid of each other. You know, for sure your ego is going to tell you to get rid of each other. You don't have to. And if you'll do da-da-da-da-da, then you can experience the accomplishment of your goal. And then the Course talks about that in chapters 15, 16, 17, the whole process of how that works from the beginning of the joint decision all the way through the period where they realize that where their relationship is now is so far from where it'll be. They blame each other, project on each other, and break up. It takes you all the way through and tells you how that goes. And so, have you read those sections yet in the Course? Okay, so you know. All right. All right. Any other questions before we close up? That's deep. That's deep section. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. You can see now why they cut that out. I'm sure they were just like, oh, whatever. That's too much. Just cut that out. Because even I looked at it and goes, oh, I don't know if I want to teach that tonight. Maybe I will go back to the edited version. So, thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for your open mind. Thank you for your willingness. So, all my classes are at, you can find them on YouTube. You just put in my name and you can find my classes for free. Thank you for your expressions of appreciation. Thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. They are much, much appreciated. This is part of what I do for a living. And this is also how we support this church that allows this, so thank you for that. So, all my classes are on YouTube for free. And I have my cards up here on the piano, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I facilitate something called Miracle Psychotherapeutic Sessions. And what those are is where we take the principles of the Course and the psychology of the Course and combine them and apply them to any area of life that you could use a transformation in. So, I call them Miracle Psychotherapeutic Sessions. So, I'm available for those. I do a lot of phone sessions around the country and around the world, so just know that that's available. You can find out about these sessions and how to contact me from my website, kujawa.com. And I guess that's it. All right, so now, at the end of all my classes, I do something called an integration meditation. And what that is it's a time where we, in meditation and visualization, take the ideas and use them and apply them to something that you could really use a miracle in, an area of life that you are tired of suffering in. And we apply that to that area of life through creative visualization and meditation. Okay? I love using the ideas of the course with meditation and visualization, and this is where I do that, okay? I also do that in a lot of my sessions too. When that pesky left brain just won't let you go. Like, okay, we're going to bypass that left brain that thinks it knows. And we're going to bypass it with some meditation and some visualization and some music. We're going to bypass that left brain, and we're going to go right into the right brain, which knows that the possibilities are limitless and knows that you deserve it. All right? So, all right, so why don't you go ahead and close your eyes and breathe. Just take a breath. And I want you first to just tune in to how you feel right now, having heard these ideas tonight. How do you feel? And just tune in to how you feel. How does the truth feel when you hear it? Does it have a different feeling quality to it than other things that you hear? What is it about this experience tonight that you would like to remember, that you would like to hold on to and integrate into how you see yourself and how you relate to others? Go ahead and say it to yourself silently. I want you to bring to your awareness a situation in your life where you haven't had peace. It's been a struggle. You experienced a lot of pain. You've been afraid. And I want you to bring that situation or relationship into your awareness. I want you to kind of look at it. Notice how it feels. Notice how it looks. And looking into yourself in this situation or this relationship, I want you to look inside yourself to find the things that you have been telling yourself, about them, and about the situation. What were the messages that you were giving yourself? Were you giving yourself loving messages? Were you being compassionate with yourself or others? I want you to take note of what you were telling yourself about yourself and what you were believing about yourself and about them. And now I want you to make the decision to go back into communication with your source, with your loving source. I want you to go back to your original form of communication with your loving Creator. And I want you to tell your Creator what you had been telling yourself, what you had been believing about yourself, and to open yourself to hearing your Creator's communication back to you. Love, this is what I was believing and telling me about myself. What is your truth? What is your truth about me? And open and listen. Speak to me, Father, that I may be healed. And then if you haven't heard already, I want you to hear your loving, loving Creator, your loving, loving Father, Mother, God saying to you, you are wholly loving and wholly lovable. And this is how I would have you think of yourself in your heart. And I want you to think about yourself that way. Tell yourself that truth about yourself. And at the very, very least say, yes. Even if I don't believe it completely now, yes, that's how I want to think about myself in my heart. And I'm willing. I want you to see if you can feel this extremely personal sense of closeness with your loving, loving Creator. Enjoy that extremely personal sense of closeness that you always wanted to feel, that you were always trying to feel with others, but never quite could. Feel it now and let it satisfy you completely. enjoy the sensation and the experience of completion. What does it feel like to feel complete? Beautiful. Very nice. Well, thank you guys. I think I need a cigarette after that.
Thank you.
That was an extremely personal sense of closeness. I need a cigarette and I don't even smoke.